Today, I'm creating the strongest shadow inside Sung Jin-Woo's shadow army. If you think Beru and Igris are some of the strongest shadows to ever live, wait until you see what I'm about to create. This shadow will not only be the strongest shadow in Jin-Woo's entire army, but potentially stronger than any character in the entire solo leveling verse. Besides Jin-Woo himself, of course. Okay, before we begin, there's a couple rules we need to consider. First, we can only choose one trait from each respective character. This means if I want to choose Beru's speed, I cannot pick Beru's healing ability later on. And second, monarchs are not allowed to be selected, and that includes Jin-Woo himself, since we're building his shadow to begin with. So let's start with the very beginning, shall we? What race will our shadow be? Since the monarchs are not a part of this selection, there's only two options to choose from. We got the hunters, the powerful humans that are gifted super strength by the rulers of the solo leveling world, and we got monsters that reside in dungeons and their only purpose is to kill humans. Now, even though having a dungeon boss sounds very entertaining, our best option is going to be a hunter, since the level of intelligence and vast ranks of power they possess can surpass the average monster with ease. Even though they've been hunting each other for ages, hunters are generally more powerful than monsters, with the average hunter being able to defeat an average monster with no problem. Hunters can also be ranked from the lowest E rank to the highest S rank, with some exceptions being national rank level, which would make them the most powerful in the world, closer to a monarch than any monster would ever get. And that brings us to our next trait, and that is our character rank before they were turned into a shadow. Now, like I just said, the hunter's ranks are the following. We got E rank, the weakest rank there is, followed by D rank, C rank, B rank, A rank, and finally S rank, being the strongest hunters in the entire association. After S rank, there's a spot saved for the strongest of them all, the ones where the power gifted by the rulers far surpasses any S rank hunter, and those are called the national rank hunters. In the show, there's only 5 of those type of hunters, the fan favorites being Liu Shigang, the strongest hunter from China, and Thomas Andre, the strongest hunter in the entire world. That is, of course, before our Shadow Monarch came in and, well, let's just say teach him a lesson. Now, I think it's pretty obvious what rank we should go with, so give me that national rank title for our ultimate shadow. So we picked our race and rank, but what about the type of hunter? As we well know, in solo leveling, there's 6 type of hunters we can choose from. We got the mages, who specialize in sorcery and magic, assassins, who excel in speed and close range fights, tankers, who specialize in defense, rangers are the ones who work well from a distance, fighters, who are the best in combat, and lastly the healers, that support and heal other hunters. Now, out of all the types, there's 2 that stand out the most. That is the fighters and the mages. Although having a massive amount of mana and being able to produce magic spells would come in handy as a shadow, there's no doubt that the fighters are by far the most powerful hunter type in the entire world, as seen by the sheer amount of powerful fighting type hunters such as Liu Shigang, Goto Ryuji, and Jin-Woo's future wife Chai-In. And so, for our hunter type, we'll choose the fighter type hunter. Okay, it's time to turn into a shadow now. And so, let's give our new shadow a weapon first. Some of the best options include the Demon King's Longsword, the sword that first belonged to the Demon Monarch Baron and later on became Sung Jin-Woo's tool after his victory against the late monarch. This sword is the second most powerful tool in Jin-Woo's arsenal of weapons, coming second only to the Kamish daggers. It's said to grant an attack power boost to the one who wields it, with also having the ability to summon a lightning storm as soon as the sword is used, making it one of the most powerful weapons in the verse. Next up, we got the Kamish Wrath daggers. These are a pair of daggers crafted from the fangs of the dragon Kamish, one of the strongest and the first S-rank boss to appear in the entire verse. As previously said, the daggers are Jin-Woo's strongest weapon in his arsenal, granting a total of extra 1500 attack power to its wielder, 4 times more powerful than the Demon King's Longsword. Not only that, but these daggers will also mold to its user, increasing their power based on their user's full abilities, making it the strongest magical tool in the entire world. Lastly, we got Bellion's Sword, a sword so out of the ordinary that can both be used as a sword as well as a whip. This sword is said to look like a centipede, being able to be used not only to slash opponents, but also trap them, similar to what Bellion did in the fight against Beru, where the anomaly of such weapon left Beru disoriented, ending up trapped in its blades like a whip. Besides that, I want to save Bellion's traits for later on the video, and so because of that, there's an obvious winner here. And that is the Kamish daggers, the strongest weapon in the entire verse. I must say, our shadow is starting to look really scary. Next trait is going to be speed. Here are the candidates for this one. First, we got none other than the Ant King, also known as Beru. One of the favorite shadows in all of the Shadow Army, as well as one of the strongest, Beru is known for being one of the fastest characters in the entire verse. As seen in the fight versus Jin-Woo, as well as the battle against the S-ranked Japanese and Korean hunters, where he completely overwhelmed Cheyenne and Goto Ryuji, the strongest hunters of each nation, in one single shot. He's able to shapeshift his body to accommodate for more agility and speed techniques, as it was seen in the fight against Jin-Woo, where he increases his speed by changing forms. Thanks to his wings, he can produce immense levels of speed, allowing him to have one of the fastest reaction times in the entire army, and even in long distances, as you can see in the final moments of the Jeju Island raid, where Jin-Woo orders his new shadow to go kill all the ants in the island. Speaking of wings, next up we got Kaizel, Jin-Woo's travel buddy. Kaizel is a dragon previously owned by Baron and turned into a shadow by Sung Jin-Woo. Besides not being the best shadow for combat, Kaizel is exceptional when it comes to speed. Thanks to his big wings, he's able to travel big distances faster than any of Jin-Woo's shadows, being the first choice for travel when Jin-Woo is not able to use Shadow Exchange. Besides his immense speed as a dragon, because of his big body, he loses points on agility compared to a shadow like Beru, making him the best shadow in long distances, but falling through in short distance duels. Lastly, we got Bellion. Now, besides not looking like he would be a fast shadow thanks to his enormous body, believe it or not, Bellion is one of the fastest shadows in the entire army, being able to keep up with the likes of Beru, as displayed in their sparring match, where Bellion is able to follow Beru's movement and easily counter with some strikes of his own. But besides his speed, we can't say the same for his agility, at least not compared to the Ant King. And so, that makes our choices a little easier, since we not only want immense speed for our character, but also the best agility we can get. And so, for speed, I'm choosing the Ant King, Beru. With speed out of the way, let's go over to strength. The first candidate here would have been Kamish. However, since we already picked the daggers for the weapon traits, we wouldn't be able to select him for this one. So that leaves us with two options. First, we got Greed, a previous S-rank hunter called Wang Dongsu that was turned into a shadow after being killed by Sung Jin-Woo himself. As a shadow, Greed is a general grade rank and one of the strongest shadows in Jin-Woo's army. He's known for his immense strength, best displayed when he was able to break out of the Frost Monarch's ice prison with a flex of his biceps. Even though his immense strength is on par with the best shadows, sadly we didn't get to see him much in action. But one thing we know for sure is that he wasn't the strongest. The strongest and our last choice for this trait was none other than the Grand Marshal Shadow, Bellion. Bellion is known for being the first ever shadow to be created, having been a shadow soldier way before Jin-Woo even met him. Not only is he a very experienced fighter, but his colossal strength is on another level. He possesses immense physical strength, well demonstrated by the sheer ease he defeated Beru, smashing him into the ground and finishing their short bout in mere seconds. Even if Kamish was available, there's no doubt that Bellion, the strongest and first shadow ever created, stands above all when it comes to physical strength. And so, that's exactly who we're gonna choose for this specific trait. Let's move on to defense now. There's no need to really go in depth with this one, because there's three obvious choices for defense. The first would be Beru. With his very durable body and exoskeleton, Beru's body is very hard to penetrate, as seen in the fight against Jin-Woo, where various punches from the Shadow Monarch were not even enough to even crack the shell of Beru's body. But since we already picked Beru for his speed, he's no longer available to be picked. Second would be Tusk. Tusk was an A-rank dungeon boss before being turned into a shadow. Even though he doesn't specialize in defense, Tusk was a mage boss that possessed a vast amount of spells that covered any need in a fight. His best defensive spell was called Hymn of Protection, where he would cast a shield around the target, protecting it from any outside attacks. This spell is best displayed when Jin-Woo and the hunters meet the dungeon boss and try to throw a surprise attack on Tusk. To no avail, Tusk easily blocks those attacks with his own spell. But besides that spell, Tusk doesn't really possess any other defensive skills, and so we won't be choosing him for now. So that leaves us with the only option left, which is Iron. Iron was previously an A-rank hunter killed after turning on Sung Jin-Woo. Very similar to Greed, I might say. Iron was previously a tanker type hunter that are known for the defense and durability in their fights. Even though he might not be as strong as shadows like Beru and Igris, Iron enhanced durability is second to none. As displayed when he was turned into a shadow, he began to withstand attacks from Baruka himself as well as enduring blasts from 3 shadow mages. Even though his action is very short in the entire show, it's clear that he is by far one of the best in defense and durability. And with a lot of the best shadows being saved for later on, Iron is the best option we got for defense. So it's without a doubt that for defense we'll go with Iron. Next up we got Battle IQ. Now listen up, I've been saving up this shadow for this exact moment in the video. In terms of battle experience and intelligence, there's really only 2 shadows that excel. One would be the obvious choice, and that is Bellion. Having been the first shadow ever created and fighting wars for all these years, he's by far the shadow with the most experience in the entire army. But when it comes to intelligence and swordsmanship, there's one shadow that outshines the number 1. Also, we've already picked Bellion for strength, so he wouldn't be available anyway. And so, our choice for Battle IQ will be the Blood Red Commander, Igris. As a martial grade rank shadow and one of the 3 strongest Jin-Woo shadows, Igris is on a completely different level of power. Besides his immense strength, speed, and agility, Igris is known for being a superior intelligence compared to his fellow shadows, serving even as a tutor not only to some shadows but to Jin-Woo himself. His tactical and strategic mindset gives him an immense advantage during fights, and was even stated by the Frost Monarch himself that with his power fully restored, Igris becomes a troublesome opponent, considering him even a greater threat than Beru. Not only that, but he's also a master in both swordsmanship and hand-to-hand combat, being the best swordsman in the entire Shadow Army. With those abilities and IQ, there's really no flaw on Igris' tactical combat, and that makes him the ideal choice for this trait of Battle IQ. And so, that leaves us with 4 traits left to go. First, we got the Healing trait, one of the most important abilities in all of solo leveling. Just as important as strength, a shadow that has the ability to heal becomes 10 times harder to defeat for his opponents. So, here are our choices. First is Min Byung, a former S-rank hunter. Besides only having been a shadow for a couple of minutes, Byung was one of the strongest healers in the entire verse. With his S-rank abilities, he was able to carry the S-rank Korean hunters through the entire Jeju Island raid, healing them even from the most grotesque injuries like regrowing Dongwook's arms and injuries that no hunter would ever recover if it wasn't for him. Not only that, but his first and only action as a shadow was saving Cha-in from sudden death. To add to that, he also possesses buff magic that would allow him to buff the stats of his fellow hunters, and disguise that would allow him to turn invisible when healing hunters. He was by far the best healer shadow in the entire Shadow Army, and that is including Beru as well. Beru's healing ability would also have been a really good option for this trait, since he's also a master at healing magic, as displayed in his fight against Jin-Woo, where he's able to recover to full health in mere seconds after suffering some devastating blows. Not only that, but like every other shadow, Beru is able to fully regenerate his body as long as Jin-Woo's mana doesn't run out. But since we already picked Beru, he's no longer available for selection, making Min Byung the only and best possible option for the healing trait as a shadow. Let's be honest, I would have picked him anyway. Okay, we are down to the last 3. It's time to pick our first special ability. This is going to be a fun one. Now, for this, there's 3 possible options that stand out the most. First is going to be the ruler's authority. Since our character was indeed a national rank hunter before becoming a shadow, that means he also gets access to one of the most overpowered abilities in the entire solo leveling verse. This ability allows to control and pull the opponent's body using only your mind, as displayed in Jin-Woo's attack to the Ant King in the Jeju Island raid, as well as in his duel against Thomas Andre, where both hunters were able to use this ability against each other to no avail. Not only is this special ability super overpowered, but it also uses no mana of its user and can be used over a large radius, as displayed when Jin-Woo is able to use it against the system statues. This technique is also described as a black hole, making it one of the most powerful and insane tools in the entire show. Next up, we got Tusk's spells. As previously said, Tusk is a mage shadow soldier and one of the strongest shadows in the entire army. His best technique is known as hymns, which allows him to use all types of spells like Hymn of Protection to create a shield around the target and Hymn of Agony that curses his targets with intense pain. The best display of this ability is when Sung Jin-Woo and the Hunters Guild is fighting the previously transformed Tusk, where he's able to use the shield for protection, blast fire out of his mouth, as well as grow in size, similar to a giant. This is by far one of the best skills to have in your arsenal. Being able to use a range of 12 different spells and specialize in all types of combats like defense, attack, even strategy allows its user to have a vast option of answers to any opponent's attacks and turn the tide of any battle. Lastly, we got Dragon Sphere. This special ability allows its user to release a mana-infused scream from their souls, driving anyone below their skill into a state of despair and panic. Which shouldn't be a problem, really, since our character might end up being the strongest in the entire verse. This skill is best seen being used in the Jin-Woo versus the Monarch of Destruction final battle, where Jin-Woo pulls his trump card by infusing the scream in every single dragon in Antar's army, and so making all the dragons useless in the entire war. Besides being a very powerful ability, especially against dragons and the Monarch of Destruction, this skill has an obvious drawback, which is that anyone in the entire vicinity that hears the scream will also fall victim to the scream's effects, and so that means our character would have to use it while fighting solo, which wouldn't be the best choice for a shadow soldier, right? And so, besides Tusk's spells being a very handy ability to have in any fight, I think it's obvious what our answer will be, and that is none other than the most overpowered ability in solo leveling, which is the Ruler's Authority. So, before reaching our last trait, our shadow character deserves more than just one special ability, right? I mean, after all, he's supposed to be a Grand Marshal Shadow, the strongest in the Shadow Army. So, for our special ability number 2, I've been saving up a skill that will transcend our power into different heights, and that is none other than Spiritual Body Manifestation. This ability allows you to fully transform your body into a manifestation of your power, as seen when Christopher Reed, a national rank hunter, is ambushed by 3 monarchs in his own house and is able to transform into a one-eyed humanoid with flaming light, as well as Thomas Andre in his fight with Jin-Woo, where he's able to cover his body with a shiny gold armor that, well, ended up not making a difference against the Shadow Monarch. This is a power that only a ruler vessel and a monarch can possess, being that a full manifestation of their power and a sign of going all out and increasing every drop of power they have left. Our shadow would follow the Shadow Monarch's transformation, with the biggest difference being covered in purple and black flames all around his body with flaming red eyes. It's a no-brainer that for our second ability we had to go with Spiritual Body Manifestation, seeing that only the best of the best are ever able to unlock it. And so, with all of that done, it's time to wrap it up and finally select a rank for our ultimate Shadow Soldier. And well, we don't really gotta think this one through, because since with all of these traits and abilities, our shadow will be by far the strongest shadow in the entire army and potentially the world, so his rank will have to be the top rank of them all, the #1 shadow in the entire shadow army, and having a Grand Marshal grade rank, bumping Bellion back to Marshal grade. There you have it. With that, Sung Jin-Woo wouldn't even have to fight any of his opponents, because, well, we would be able to handle it by ourselves. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out this one next, where I created the strongest duo in Blue Lock's history. Go on!